Hey, what's going on guys, it's FPL Yusuf here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys my Game Week 4 final team selection. In this video we're going to go through some key questions to start us off. We're going to take a look at some DEFCON players this week, we're going to take a look at some DEFCON stats. I'm going to show you guys what I'm thinking about doing for my transfers. Am I going to roll, am I going to just use my two frees? And I'm also going to show you what my final team is looking like before tomorrow's deadline. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And as always, let's just get into it. Hey, welcome back guys. Thank you so much for being here with me today on my YouTube channel for another video. So let's start off with some key questions first up, and we're going to start with Nottingham Forest. Now, obviously we have all heard the news that Nuno has left, he's been sacked and they have replaced him with Big Ange. What does that mean for our Forest assets? Should we be looking at maybe more of the attack than the defense now? We're going to just discuss kind of like how Big Ange has an impact on them. So I think first things first is we all know, as we saw with Tottenham, how Ange plays football. He likes to get on the front foot. He likes to be attacking. The clean sheets weren't really there for them. He does play a high line everywhere he's been, whether it's been Celtic, whether it's been back in Australia. He does always seem to just play with a high line, which I think means that Forest are probably going to be more susceptible to conceding goals as opposed to how they were last year, where Nuno played quite a deep line and sort of hit teams on the counter attack. So I think the Forest defenders, at least for the time being, are probably going to just be on radar just to maybe potentially move them out to someone else. Now, obviously, it's hard because they do play Arsenal this week, which is not a great fixture at all. We're going to talk about goal and clean sheet odds next. But after that, they have Burnley and Sunderland, which on paper are two fantastic fixtures. But like I said, we saw what Ange was like with Tottenham last year, and it is very much all-out attack. The defence are on a high line. It's not like that Forest have got quick defenders either. Sells isn't really a sweeper keeper, so I'm not really too sure how this is going to play out, but I am definitely keeping an eye on Murillo, because if I started to see the same traits as when he was at Tottenham, Murillo will be shifted on very quickly. On the other hand, with the attackers, Chris Wood in particular, I think we all know Chris Wood probably isn't going to play 90 minutes most games. He's getting on a little bit now. But if Ange does implement his style of football, there will be chances while he's on the pitch. And obviously, as a goal scorer, that is what you'd want for Chris Wood. As a striker, as an FPL asset, that's exactly what you want. So I think from where we started the season with Forest, it was kind of like all in on the defence, maybe not so much on the attack. I think it's kind of on a role reverse now. I think the attack is looking quite good with Big Ange, but also the defence, on the other hand, may leave some questions around it. Okay, Ismaila Sarr up next. What do we do with him if you own him? Now, I know a lot of people did bring him in before the international break, and unfortunately, he did pick up an injury. Crystal Palace have said that he is going to be out for the Sunderland game, so he is going to be ruled out for that match. But I don't think he's looking as bad as what we thought. So originally, before the international break started, when he got the injury, the reports that are coming out were it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks, which means he was probably going to miss, this side of the next international break, which is going to be up to Game Week 7. So I think there's a lot of people considering just selling him, even though they just brought him in. However, right now, even though he's going to miss this game week, and obviously Sunderland on paper is a great fixture, not something that you want to miss out on. But I also think that, there's maybe other things you could do with your free transfers. I don't necessarily think that you have to get rid of him this week. I personally would just advise keep him for this week and see what happens at the press conference at the end of next week, because if he is back fit, he's a great asset to own. Crystal Palace have got an okay fixture on right now. So I think, with Mateta obviously being up front, he's going to be the one supplying him, hopefully chipping with an odd few goals here and there. So if you've got Sarr, I would say just keep a hold of him. But obviously as we get on, if we hear that the injury news isn't as good as maybe what we think it is, then yeah, I think he's probably time to definitely sell. And Florian Wirtz, now what do we do with him? Now this one is a really tricky one, because Frimpong and Conor Bradley are both back, which means one of them is probably going to go back to right back, meaning Szoboszlai is going to come back into the midfield. But obviously, the big question is who's going to miss out. So Gravenberch, I don't see it being him. It could be McAllister. Maybe it's a toss-up between one of them two. But obviously, it's no secret that Florian Wirtz has not started the season well at all. He did score on the international break with Germany, which obviously, for confidence-wise, is a good thing. But I am a little bit worried, to say the least. Now, obviously, no one's selling him before Burnley. It just doesn't make sense. It's a great fixture on paper. They've got great odds, as we're going to cover in the next section. But for me, if he doesn't do anything against Burnley, I think it's just time to ship him out and just go, because we've waited through, fairly difficult fixtures, but this is the banker one. At the start of the season when we saw the fixture list, this was the one that we said that, especially for not even just Wirtz, all Liverpool assets, is that this would be the one that, you'd want to keep him for. You'd want to keep and own Liverpool players for this one. So we'll have to wait and see. I think this week is very telling on what's going to happen with Florian Wirtz's future, but I don't think there's a necessarily worry about him starting this game. But, if we get to the 60th minute and he hasn't returned, or, Liverpool maybe not as free-flowing as what we'd imagine, I can see changes being made. And I think he would probably be one of the players that would be sacrificed in transfers. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the clean sheet and goal scoring odds. So right now there are 4 teams currently above 2 goals a game. It's Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle and Manchester City. Now I'd imagine a lot of people will be invested in some way, shape or form in this, whether it be Haaland, Tijani Reinders, some people might have Gyökeres, Mo Salah, Gakpo, Ekitike. Like, there's going to be a lot of players who are going to be owned for these, which obviously for us and goal scoring odds is great. I think on the defensive side of things, Arsenal, Liverpool, Crystal Palace, all these guys are above 40% for clean sheet odds, which again, I think a lot of people probably will be invested in. So I like this. For the main crux of the team, I think this week, a lot of people should be owning multiple of these players. I think Arsenal, on paper, this is a great fixture for them. Obviously, Big Ange, like I said, it's going to be all-out attack, but Arsenal's defence is so good, which may leave gaps for, the likes of Gyökeres up front. If Madueke is starting over Saka, that could be quite an interesting one. So if you are free hitting or wildcarding this week, I definitely think that there's room to bring in an Arsenal defender, an Arsenal attacker. Same thing for Liverpool. Their fixture swings about to go on a much better run. Obviously, they play Burnley this week, followed by Everton, Man City. A couple more odd, bad fixtures to get out of the way. Obviously, they play Arsenal in, I think, game week 5. But then from game week 6 onwards, it's a fantastic fixture run from them. The likes of Burnley and all that coming up. So these are the sort of decisions now what we have to make is that, do we just go for them now, or do we wait until those fixture swings actually happen? I think a lot of people probably will be wildcarded after the international break, which, for me, it's a little bit too early, but, every team's different and everyone's got their own way of doing things. So if you are wildcarding this week, as you can see by the clean sheet odds, I think going into the Crystal Palace lot, the Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, I think it's all viable options. Obviously, Arsenal and City will play each other in a few weeks' time. But I think for that odd game week, if you're using your wild card now, you want to set up for the long-term thinking. I think an Arsenal defender, an Arsenal attacker, a Liverpool attacker, possibly a Liverpool defender, I probably would stay away from them right now. If you were going to go there, it would probably be Van Dijk. And then obviously, Crystal Palace, the defence is so good. Mateta up front, Ismail Assar, and Man City is pretty much Haaland and Reinders. So yeah, I think a lot of high-scoring games could happen this week. Obviously, clean sheet and goal scoring odds are looking good for the majority of people, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. Okay, so let's talk about what I'm looking to do with my transfers. I currently have 2 free transfers in the bank. I have no money. This week is all going to be dependent on whether Cole Palmer's fit and available to not. So I'm going to keep an eye out on the press conferences today. At the time we're recording this, it's Friday morning, so I will keep an eye and see what they're saying about him. If Palmer's fit and playing, I will probably just end up rolling the transfer just because I haven't got any money to move anyone else anywhere. The only move I could make to free up money is obviously moving Murillo down. But like I said, when they're playing against Burnley and Sunderland in the next 2 after this week, doesn't really seem to make sense. So I'm going to come into what my team's looking like, provided I don't make transfers. If I do make transfers this week, then Palmer will be obviously the main piece out because he's not playing, and I will move him straight to Cody Gakpo, which will obviously free up money. I do have a second free transfer in my bank, which Joe Rodon, for me, is somebody that I'm looking to move on. Choice of moving him on to someone is a little bit more tricky. I'm sort of deliberating whether to go with a Crystal Palace defender in Lacroix or Gahey or Chris Richards, but also I'm looking at Cucurella as well. I think Cucurella for me is somebody who's criminally underrated. Like, clean sheet potential, he's got that. Bonus point potential, he's got that. And he does also offer attacking threat as well. So if I move Rodon out with that Palmer money, it will be moving up to either Crystal Palace or Cucurella. And the last transfer that I've got to make this week, and this obviously again depends on how my team's looking and if I move Cole Palmer out to free up the money, is Murillo. Like I said, Burnley and Sunderland, I really don't want to get rid of him before that, but I know how Ange plays football, and it does worry me a little bit owning him because they haven't kept any clean sheets yet, and that's when they were playing their game. So now they're going to be playing Ange's game, high line, there's going to be space in behind. I'm a little bit uneasy by it. But if I do move him out, it will 100% be to Gabriel. Or again, if I move Lacroix if I move Joe Rodon to Lacroix, then there's a chance that I move Murillo to Cucurella. But I think Gabriel, I want to be on the Arsenal defence. There is a possibility that I move Robert Sanchez to Raya as well and just double up for sort of 5-6 weeks with them, because I do think Arsenal defence are just so good and so elite. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm going to leave my transfers very late this week, so it will be after the press conferences. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, hopefully we just get some team news around certain players this week. Okay, and finally, my team for this coming game week. Now, like I said, I haven't made any transfers yet, so this is currently what I'm going on if I decide to roll. It'll be Robert Sanchez in goal against Brentford. I like it. It's a good opportunity for a clean sheet. Chelsea have been very, very good defensively as well, which is why I'm so big on Cucurella. Their fixtures do swing a little bit after this, but I think for this week and for this game in particular, he's fine. I've gone for a back four this week, so we've got Ray and Aït-Nouri against Manchester United at home. That could be quite a high scoring game. You know, Man City usually do put up a performance against Manchester United, so I'm hoping we're going to see the Wolves Aït-Nouri this game, who is flying forward, you know, down that left-hand side, getting the crosses in, getting those attacking assists, and, you know, hopefully maybe a goal scored as well. Jed Spence against West Ham. This one, I'm not really too sure how to feel about this, because obviously West Ham ended the international break really well. They had a really good game against Nottingham Forest towards the back end of that last half an hour, so I'm a little bit iffy about this one, but you know, I haven't really got too many options this week, so it's either Jed Spence or Murillo against Arsenal, so I think there's only one winner on that one. My last two defenders are Joachim Andersen and Joe Rodon. They both are playing against each other, so the best scenario for me here would be a 0-0, which I could definitely see because Fulham don't actually score a lot of goals and neither do Leeds either, so maybe it's a battle of defences here and just one cancels out the other. Rodon is currently flagged, which is why I'm sort of a little bit iffy about keeping him there because I probably would want to move him to someone else like a Crystal Palace defender, but obviously I have no money in the bank right now, so we'll have to wait and see on what happens with Cole Palmer. Speaking of which, he is in my midfield. Like I said, this one solely depends on whether he's playing or not. I will leave it right to the very end to see if we get early team news or just see if we hear anything from press conferences. So we're going to hold tight on him. Tijani Reinders, again, at home to Man United, another fantastic fixture. Florian Wirtz, again, same thing. So I am expecting a lot of goals this week, and I'm hoping that the midfield and the forward line are going to return big. So yeah, three-man midfield of Palmer, Wirtz, and Tijani Reinders. We're going to keep an eye on Florian Wirtz this week just to see how he gets on. And onto the front line, Ekitike, again, same thing. Going to keep a very close eye on him. I do expect him to start this game. Isak didn't really get much minutes over international break. He hasn't really had a pre-season, so I don't know how match fit he is. I do think within the next 2-3 weeks, before the next international break, we will see Isak be slowly phased in. So I'm going to use Ekitike for this fixture. Maybe keep him for the Everton one as well. And then after that, I probably will look to move him to Isak if I see him start playing regular minutes. Victor Gyökeres, hopefully, fingers crossed, this is going to be a fantastic game for him. You know, a high-line Nottingham Forest defence just eats into what Gyökeres is all about, ball over the top, in behind, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, he can come back with the goods this week. And of course, Erling Haaland, who currently is my captaincy. I don't think there's really going to be much debate with captaincy this week. It could potentially go to Ekitike or Gyökeres, but I think Erling Haaland, the form he's in, and especially, I don't know if you guys have seen how he got on an international break, 5 goals and 2 assists in a game against Andorra. So yeah, they hit him for double digits. He scored half the goals, so yeah, he's in very good form, and I think there's no other choice this week for captaincy other than Erling Haaland. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Thank you all so much for the recent support of my videos. The views are doing really well, and I'm very grateful for all the likes. You know, everyone who comments, thank you so much. Even if you're just watching the video, I really do appreciate it. I will leave a link to my X down below if you want to see my final team sort of 10-15 minutes before the deadline. I always drop a picture on there. I'll also leave a link to Rob T FPL's X in the description down below as well, because he obviously provides us with the goal scoring graphics every week. And that is it. International break is finally done. We are back for game week 4. I do hope you guys have a great game week. If you have any questions about your team, about my team, feel free to drop it in the comments down below. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.